When the Village of Lowville's clerk-treasurer resigned earlier this week, village officials quickly replaced her with someone who's done the job before. Clerk-treasurer Danielle St. Louis resigned unexpectedly on Wednesday. The position is essential to day-to-day operations, village attorney Jim Burrows said. So at an emergency meeting the same day, trustees appointed retired clerk-treasurer Pamela Rose. Rose, he says, has agreed to serve until a permanent replacement is named. Burrows said St. Louis didn't give a reason for her resignation. He said as far as he knew, the resignation was unrelated to Police Chief Randy Rogi's retirement and Sergeant Philip Turk's resignation. Both have been charged in connection with timesheets that Turk allegedly falsified and Rogi knowingly approved.